There were two moments in my life when I felt absolutely shattered. July 2010, I had just finished my engineering. 15 companies walked into my college for placements. I had a BTech with honors. I had the grades, the certificates, and yet not a single company selected me. And suddenly, I found myself sitting at home, jobless, for almost a year. The second was exactly 10 years later, July 2020. I had just hung up my uniform after serving for almost a decade in the armed forces. The world outside was under lockdown. I was 5 months pregnant, jobless for almost a year, and in the middle of an identity crisis, lost between who I was and what I was supposed to become. And in that moment, I waited for a fairy godmother, for someone to come and rescue me, like in the Cinderella story. But days went by and no one came. I remember getting few job offers, 9 to 6 roles, security manager of a startup, VP of a startup. And I thought, why not? Let me give it a try. So, for a week or two, I followed a routine. 9 hours, 6 days a week. Discussions on projects, emails, meetings with endless discussions. No sunrises, no sunsets. And when I tracked my progress, do you know what I found? I was having 2 major decisions on an average in a day. That's it, 2. And I thought, if I could spend 9 hours on myself, what would happen? I mean, just give me 1 hour in a salon and I would come out like a dry cleaned peacock. Imagine what 9 hours would do. But here is the truth. I wasn't pushing myself. I was only switching from government to private, from armed forces to corporate. The uniform had changed, but the rhythm of the work was the same. And I was afraid of not getting the best money package to show off to my friends. That's what we do. But then another voice rose inside me. What if I take out fear for once, like what I did right now? What if I stop measuring myself for titles, paychecks, organizations? So I did something that people called a big mistake. I started rejecting job offers. See? Because deep inside, I had started imagining something far bigger than a paycheck. A life where I could work from the mountains or the beaches, raise my child, create an impact, and earn appropriately. A life where my identity wasn't borrowed from a company, but it was built by me. This wasn't just about a career. It was about freedom, purpose, and ownership of my own story. And then my horror story began. While others were busy with courses and taking interviews, one afternoon I was staring at my laptop. A blank document, a blinking cursor, and an ambitious mind which won't settle for less. A deadly combination. So I picked up a startup idea which had been on my mind for quite some time and pushed it on that empty document. And there was this voice around me. You're from a service background. Business is not for you. You know what all you need? It's scary, it's tough, you need people, you need collaboration, you need resources, you need blah, blah, blah. And of course, they were right. I had none. But I had to at least try once. And that one try gave me 2 startups in 5 years. Just imagine. And it gave me something more valuable. The confidence to stand on stages like this and teach people how to build a business from scratch. Because sometimes The leap you fear the most is the leap that gives you wings. Let me tell you something. It's very easy to announce a promotion, but it's very tough to announce a dream. Because the few times I did speak up, the response was brutal. Writers don't get paid. Startups don't survive. Get a real job. You're a mom. Be stable. And they were not wrong, because that's how the conventional world works. And that's when the inner conflict began. On one side, I wanted to be safe, practical, understood. But on the other side, I wanted to be bold, unapologetic, and do something out of my life. So I stayed quiet like a submarine for 3 long years. But I worked hard. I worked very hard with my head down, working, building, alone. And every day of that silence, it gave me resilience. It gave me clarity. It gave me goosebumps. Sometimes it pushed me, and sometimes I fell, but I did not stop. I hugged consistency like it was my world. My world was about to change. My dream job was about to be born. But ironically, I didn't know how, when, or what. And that's when I understood my first lesson. Your identity is borrowed until you create your own. All this while, I was fearless and stable in my armed forces job. You know, an officer in the Indian Armed Forces. And the moment I left the uniform, I was still waiting for someone to hand over my identity to me. And my second lesson, clarity is like the peeling layers of an onion. Each experience, each failure, each heartbreak, it removes a layer of noise or doubt until what remains is truly, undeniably the truth. It's the yes you say when the logic screams no. You know, many people start writing a book, but only 3% finish it, and less than 1% get it published. And I was in that 1% without even planning to get there. Not because I desired, but I felt it was the right thing to do. So when people would ask me, how did you manage to write 4 books? And I swear I did not have a glamorous answer. I wrote because it felt right. And for others, it might look for hard work, but for me, it was pure meditation. It was healing. There was no spotlight, no applause. No one was waiting for my books, but I wrote. So out of the blue, I began listening to my inner voice, my startups, collaborations, networking. I said yes to talk shows. I said yes to people. I said yes to resources. I said yes to collaboration. And something shifted. I was no longer Vama Gaur from the Indian Coast Guard or Vama Gaur from the corporate. I was just Vama Gaur who was living a life with a lot of excitement and fear. Yes, there was fear, but it turned into fearless steps. Hear this out. We live in a world of borrowed identities, titles, uniforms, organizations, and when they are stripped away, we feel naked and exposed. You know why? Because society trains us to wait. Wait for permission, wait for applause, wait for promotions, and wait for a uniform to make us feel credible. But here is the truth. Transformation doesn't happen in waiting. It happens when you wake up half an hour early, even though your bed begs you to stay. It happens when you raise your hand in that meeting, even your voice is trembling. It also happens when you stop giving excuses and step into discipline. Like dragging yourself to the gym, it's boring. It's tiring. People will hate you for missing late nights. But soon you realize that people are not a compulsion. They are a choice. It also happens when you stop numbing yourself with borrowed dopamine, with cheap dopamine, and get into the D&D earned dopamine mode. The quiet, consistent actions that compound into real progress. So that's where the shift begins. Not in perfection, not in permission, but the uncomfortable, imperfect, raw actions. So here is my challenge to you. Can you build something from scratch that feels like magic? Can you listen to your inner voice for once? Because maybe it's not your job, it's not your relationship that's suffocating you. You are not being courageous enough to come out of your comfort zone. And exactly how do you do it? So let me give you 3 tools which I have been using all my life. Tool number 1, the 100-hour investment to start something new. If you spend just 15 to 20 minutes in a day, that is 100 hours in 1 year, you can have the draft of your book, you can master a new skill, you can also have the foundation of your new business. Dreams are not magic, they are math. They are the small, raw, imperfect, consistent actions that compound into real growth. Tool number 2, the 1, 10 and 100 rule of courage. One step, say yes even when you are not ready. 10 rejections, accept that at least 10 rejections will be there in every dream. If there are less rejections, it means your dream is not big enough. And the 100 trials. By the time you've experimented 100 times, your dream shifts from fragile to unstoppable. Numbers create resilience. The fairy godmother may not appear on trial 1, but she may appear on trial 100. And the most important tool, it's my personal favorite, the dual identity bridge. Imagine you're having 2 lives which are running in parallel. One is a borrowed identity and one is a chosen identity. The borrowed identity is your safety net, family, job, obligations. And the chosen identity is your growth path. You know what? The experiments, creation, risks. And how do they happen? When you start experimenting one evening, one weekend, one habit, one project. The bridge is built when you borrow the resources of your borrowed identity to fuel your chosen identity. For example, you use the salary or skills from your borrowed path to fuel your chosen path. Over time, your chosen identity expands until you don't need the borrowed identity anymore. And then, boom, I got a gift in the form I could never ever imagine. The stories I wrote in books, the discipline I forged in the Indian Armed Forces, the skills I sharpened as an entrepreneur, and the desire to do something new and experimental. They all collided and they pushed me into writing impactful biographies which turned into legacies for corporates and individuals, which helped me to work either from the mountains or the beaches, create an impact, take care of my child, and earn appropriately. I realized in 2019 I had hung my uniform, but I did not hang my spirit. The life you dream of doesn't come from permission or applause or safety. It comes from the courage to say yes to yourself, even when no one else understands. It's when you stop feeling ashamed and embarrassed of failure and judgments and rejections. I don't know what I'll be doing in the next 10 years, but I know what I'm doing today, what I'm doing tomorrow, and probably day after. And these small yeses are the life I have built my life upon. Because the life I live is exciting and energetic and with gut and grit. And yes, the fairy godmother, who is it? Anyone? The fairy godmother I was waiting for was me. Because dreams don't come with fairy godmothers. It's only you who can make it happen. Thank you.